No, 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 she muttered. Under her breath, she thought briefly of pushing the closed doors button before sighing and holding the door. Instead, he slipped through the elevator doors and nodded his thanks. As the doors closed and the elevator hummed its way down to the parking garage, he glanced at her. "You're working late this evening, Ms. Reed." She smiled stiffly at him. He was the reason she was working late when she should have been out celebrating Amanda's birthday with the rest of her friends. She sighed and brushed at a speck of lint on her skirt. It wasn't that she hated her new boss. She just really disliked him. Jason Young was by far the most arrogant, egotistical jackass she'd ever had to work for. It didn't matter that in the last 6 months he had taken their small, unassuming website and turned it into one of the most viewed websites of the year. Nor did it matter that he had secured so many new advertisers that everyone in the office had received a bonus and 10% raise. She knew he was good at what he did. It's why he was hired in the first place. The problem was that she was a damn fine copy editor and she worked her ass off for the company, but for some mysterious reason Jason Young loathed her. Today was particularly brutal. She had stayed positive only by reminding herself that it was Friday, and she could forget the day with a few well-timed tequila shots at Amanda's birthday party. Of course, thanks to Mr. Young, that plan was shot after lunch. She sighed again and glanced at her cell phone. It was only 8:30. She could go home, change into something slinky and sexy and still meet the gang at the pub. She realized that her boss was standing a little closer and staring silently at her. She shot him a dirty look before returning her gaze to her cell phone. She was off the clock. There was no need to be friendly or polite with him. "Ms. Reed, do you have a problem with me?" he asked suddenly. "Why would you think that?" she asked. "Because you." He stopped as the elevator came to a sudden, grinding halt. The lights went out, plunging them into darkness, and she was thrown against him. Her cell phone flew out of her hand and hit the elevator wall with a crunching noise that made her wince. She shrank against him, her heart thudding in her chest. With a low buzz, the emergency lights came on and bathed the elevator in a dim red light. She was still pressed against him with panicked intimacy. He was holding her with his large hands clamped around her full hips, and she flushed and shoved at his hard chest. Let go of me. Just wait a minute, I think, she gasped as the elevator made another groaning lurch and dropped a few more feet. Her stomach dropped with it, and her fear made her clutch to his broad shoulders. What the hell? She whispered. He frowned. The elevator seems to be broken. She pushed again at his chest. Let me go, please. His gaze dropped to her mouth and lingered there. His stare, combined with the warmth of his hands on her hips, was making her skin tingle, and she licked her lips nervously. His gaze darkened, and his nostrils flared, and she stared mesmerized at the dark stubble that covered his lower face.